Welcome to WT History. In this series, we list all the major events that happened in the world in a year, starting from 1776 to 2024. On March 26th, the Boston Gazette printed a political cartoon coining the term gerrymander after former Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry approved legislation creating oddly shaped electoral districts to help incumbents win re-election. This term remains a part of political vocabulary to this day. On April 4th, U.S. President James Madison enacted a 90-day embargo on trade with the United Kingdom, a move aimed at pressuring the British to stop seizing American ships and sailors. On April 30th, Louisiana was admitted as the 18th U.S. state, marking a significant expansion of the United States. On June 4th, following Louisiana's admission, the Missouri Territory was established, renaming the former Louisiana Territory and setting the stage for future statehood debates. On June 16th, New York State chartered the Citibank of New York, which would later become Citibank, one of the largest financial institutions in the world. On June 1st, President James Madison asked Congress to declare war on the United Kingdom, citing grievances like British impressment of American sailors and trade restrictions. Just 17 days later, on June 18th, the War of 1812 officially began with the U.S. declaration of war. On July 12th, American forces invaded Canada at Windsor, Ontario, marking the beginning of a series of military campaigns in the war. On August 5th, Tecumseh's Indian force ambushed Thomas Van Horn's 200 Americans at Brownstone Creek, forcing them to flee and retreat. On August 15th, the Battle of Fort Dearborn saw Potawatomi warriors overrun the U.S. fort in the Illinois Territory, resulting in a tragic loss of life. On August 16th, American General William Hull surrendered Fort Detroit to the British without a fight, a major blow to U.S. morale. On August 19th, the USS Constitution defeated the British frigate Guerriere off the coast of Nova Scotia. British cannonballs reportedly bounced off the ship's sides, earning her the nickname Old Ironsides. On October 9th, American naval forces under Lieutenant Jesse Duncan Elliott captured two British warships, HMS Detroit and HMS Caledonia, boosting American confidence. On October 12th, the capital of Pennsylvania was permanently moved from Lancaster to Harrisburg, where it remains today. On October 13th, the Battle of Queenston Heights saw U.S. forces under General Stephen Van Rensselaer repulsed by British and native troops led by Sir Isaac Brock, who died during the battle. On November 5th, the 1812 United States presidential election saw James Madison defeat DeWitt Clinton, securing his second term as president. On December 29th, the USS Constitution achieved another victory, defeating the British frigate HMS Java off the coast of Brazil, further cementing her legendary status. On December 8th, the San Juan Capistrano earthquake struck Alta California, killing 40 parishioners at Mission San Juan Capistrano and causing widespread damage. In 1812, the Bishop James Madison Society was founded at the College of William and Mary in Virginia, promoting intellectual and cultural growth. Finally, the Woodford Reserve Bourbon Whiskey Distillery, established in 1780 in Kentucky, passed to the control of Oscar Pepper, ensuring its legacy as a cornerstone of American whiskey production. On January 19th, the Anglo-Portuguese army, led by the Earl of Wellington, stormed the French-held fortress of Ciudad Rodrigo. The siege was a significant success for Wellington, securing a strategic gateway into Spain and setting the stage for further campaigns. On February 24th, Prussia and France signed the Treaty of Paris, forming a military alliance. On March 14th, Prussia and Austria signed a separate Treaty of Paris. Between March 16th and April 6th, the Anglo-Portuguese forces under Wellington laid siege to Badajoz, a heavily fortified city in Spain. The siege was brutal, culminating in a bloody assault that forced the surrender of the French garrison. The victory came at a high cost, with thousands of casualties. On June 22nd, France formally declared war on Russia. Napoleon sought to punish Russia for abandoning the continental system, a blockade against British trade. Just 2 days later, Napoleon's Grand Armée, over 600,000 strong, crossed the Niemen River, launching an ambitious invasion of Russia. On July 18th, Russian forces led by General Yakov Kulnev clashed with the French under Oudinot at Clayastitsi. Although the Russians won, Kolnev suffered a fatal wound, marking a heroic yet tragic moment in the war. Meanwhile, in Spain, Wellington's forces achieved another decisive victory at the Battle of Salamanca on July 22nd. Following the success at Salamanca, Wellington's forces triumphantly entered Madrid on August 12th. The city's liberation was a significant blow to French dominance in Spain. On September 7th, the bloodiest battle of the Napoleonic Wars unfolded at Borodino. The battle ended in a tactical victory for Napoleon, but at a staggering cost, over 70,000 casualties. It weakened the French army significantly before reaching Moscow. Napoleon entered Moscow on September 14th, expecting a triumphant occupation. Instead, he found a city in flames. Russian forces, under orders from Fyodor Rostopchin, set the city ablaze to deny Napoleon resources. The fires raged for days, further straining the Grand Armée. As Russian forces regrouped, they struck back in Belarus at the Second Battle of Polotsk from October 18th to 20th, defeating a Franco-Bavarian force and worsening Napoleon's predicament. Napoleon, realizing he could not hold Moscow, ordered a retreat on October 19th. Back in France, on October 23rd, General Claude-François de Maillet attempted a coup in Paris, falsely claiming Napoleon had died. His plan failed, but it highlighted cracks in Napoleon's regime. Napoleon's retreat took a turn for the worse on October 24th at Maloyaroslavets. A fierce clash with Russian forces forced him to retreat along the same devastated path he had advanced on, worsening his army's suffering. On November 3rd, the rearguard of Napoleon's retreating army was attacked and defeated at Vyazma. The Russian pursuit intensified. Between November 15th and 18th, the French suffered yet another major defeat at Krasnoy. The retreat was turning into a disaster. Finally, on December 14th, the French invasion of Russia came to a tragic end as the remnants of the Grande Armée were expelled from Russia. Out of 600,000 soldiers, only a fraction survived. To end the year, on December 30th, the Convention of Tauroggen was signed, effectively breaking the Prussian-French alliance and setting the stage for Napoleon's eventual downfall. Before moving on, please consider subscribing to support the channel. In Britain, poet Lord Byron delivered his first speech in the House of Lords, defending the Luddites, workers protesting industrialization. He argued they were victims of economic change rather than criminals. On May 11th, British Prime Minister Spencer Perceval was assassinated in the House of Commons by John Bellingham, a merchant with grievances against the government. His death remains the only assassination of a British Prime Minister. Bellingham was executed on 18th of May. On May 25th, the Felling mine disaster in northern England claimed 96 lives, highlighting the dangerous conditions of coal miners and prompting safety concerns. On November 10th, the United Kingdom held a general election. The Tory party, led by Robert Jenkinson, 2nd Earl of Liverpool, secured victory, shaping Britain's future policies. Globally, the year started with Austria implementing its civil code on January 1st, laying the foundation for modern Austrian law. On February 13th, Chile published its first newspaper, Aurora de Chile, promoting national independence and political thought. On February 27th, Manuel Belgrano raised the flag of Argentina, which he designed for the first time in Rosario, symbolizing the nation's fight for independence. On March 19th, Spain introduced its first modern constitution, limiting monarchical power and paving the way for democratic governance. On March 26th, a devastating earthquake destroyed Caracas, Venezuela, impacting its independence movement. On April 8th, Tsar Alexander I moved Finland's capital from Turku to Helsinki, strengthening Russian influence over the region. On May 16th, Russia and the Ottoman Empire signed the Treaty of Bucharest, ending their war and granting Russia control of Bessarabia. On July 19th, composer Beethoven and writer Goethe met in Teplice, Bohemia, an encounter between two of the era's greatest minds. On December 18th, Spain held its first Christmas lottery in Cadiz, beginning a tradition that continues today. On December 20th, the Brothers Grimm published the first volume of Grimm's Fairy Tales in Germany, preserving folk stories that remain famous worldwide. In South Asia, the Ranikot Fort in Sindh was reconstructed, showcasing remarkable architecture and historical significance. In Africa, the Battle of Shella saw the people of Lamu Island defeat coastal invaders, securing their independence. Lastly, Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt rediscovered the ancient city of Petra, revealing one of history's greatest archaeological sites. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.